and welcome to another edition of SCRC's Let's Talk Caregiving. I'm your host, Marta Rañón, Executive Vice President of Southern Caregiver Resource Center. And it gives me great pleasure to welcome San Diego County Supervisor Joel Anderson, who is today's special guest. Welcome, Supervisor.
Martha, I'm so excited to be here.
I am so glad you're here too, because we have so much to talk about, especially because you represent about 620,000 residents of District 2. And I know that this is an area that includes more than 50 communities, all thriving cities like El Cajon and resort towns like Julian, but rural communities.
Yes.
Places where it's not only beautiful, but it is very hot.
I'm blessed with two things: affordable housing and plenty of sun. We have a lot of sun in East County, and I was just saying earlier today to my staff, at my house this morning when I left at 6 a.m., it was already 82 degrees. So
Wow.
it was going to be a warm one today.
Oh, wow. 6 in the morning, already 82 degrees. I cannot imagine. I know that one of the things, I live closer to the coast, but I remember thinking, I'm never going to need AC. We have the breeze from the ocean. Not anymore.
No, and I lived in Chula Vista. I lived on a sailboat in J Street, and about 2 weeks a year, Chula Vista, who has probably the best weather in San Diego County, because you're right, that cool breeze.
Yes.
But there'd be 2 weeks of Santa Ana that it would just be
Brutal.
brutal. I saw a lot of movies during those 2 weeks. Which is one of the things that if you can't afford a movie, one of the things in my district that you can do, and throughout San Diego County, is we have these cool zones. And I don't know if you're familiar with those, but we have some libraries, we have some community centers, and they provide air conditioning for seniors, for community members, for caregivers. And even if you have air conditioning at home, it gets very expensive.
Oh, yeah.
And so sometimes it's good just to turn it off during those peak hours, head down to the cool zone, meet your neighbors. Sometimes there's snacks, sometimes there's other things.
I might have to go visit.
And it really starts to become a little bit of a party atmosphere because everyone's doing the same thing. They're huddling together to keep cool.
What a great idea. I'm really glad that you're talking about the cool zones, because I had heard about all of these different places. But really the idea of you turning off your AC at home and going to these places that are already not only a social hub, but can keep you that, nice and cool and get you out of the house. Instead of thinking of how hot it is. What a great idea.
And, at the county, if you go to supervisorjoelanderson.com, we have a list of all the locations. And we encourage people to go there. But if you don't have access to the web, you can call my office at 619-219-2470. Again, that's 619-219-2470. We're happy to help and get people into those cool zones. Nobody should have to suffer here in San Diego County.
Absolutely. One of the things that I wanted to tell caregivers, because I know that caring for individuals who are frail, who are elderly, who might need a lot of assistance, sometimes staying cool can keep them more comfortable.
And even if you're only talking about 4 hours of the day. So at my house, 82, I know it's going to be a scorcher, but 82 is comfortable. When we get to 100, it's not so comfortable, but you can go to those cool zones during that 100-degree weather. So when you return home, maybe you're in the 70s. And that's, that's reasonable.
Now, I know that I've heard that SDG&E might be able to also provide some fans.
Absolutely. The SDG&E partnered with the county to provide free fans for those who are financially qualified.
Okay.
So when you're thinking about Potrero and you're thinking about Lakeside and some of these communities, many of these folks may not have fans. I know it sounds crazy, but when we get super hot like this, you could go to a Walmart and you won't find a fan. No. Everyone's bought them. But they're providing these free fans for families that need it. And a fan makes a world of difference.
Oh, yeah. That was actually my experience last year. It was so hot and I didn't have AC. And I just thought, I need to do something because I am just boiling in here in my house. And I went to the store, nothing. I went to another store, nothing. And I thought, Is this what it's gonna be like? Am I gonna have to make paper fans?
I one of the tricks that we use at our house one summer, unfortunately, our air conditioning went out, and we were stretched thin with our kids at home, and so we couldn't afford to get it repaired.
Mhm.
And so we had fans, but I also took spray bottles, like you spray
Oh,
water on your hair.
yes.
And I put water in it, and I'd missed myself with that fan, and what a world! It knocked me down 10, 15 degrees.
That
It was
is
really quite
so
comfortable.
That is so true. And these are little tricks that I think, listeners out there hopefully can employ, and maybe caregivers can also utilize with the people that they're caring for, because that's a great idea. You just get a spray bottle and you use it, but also maybe making some popsicles and
Oh, yes.
have fun with that.
You're doing all the things I like. So
Homemade ice
absolutely.
cream. That's wonderful. I know that in San Diego County, we have about 90,000 residents living with Alzheimer's disease or some related dementia. And with that come caregivers who are trying to balance caregiving, caring for maybe young children, working. And that is really difficult to do when so much depends on you. And I'm talking specifically about individuals, caregivers who have had to leave their jobs to be full-time caregivers. How are they supposed to make the money that they need to sustain their household?
Well, you brought up a really important point. And 2 years ago, when I got elected, I reached out to Nora Vargas because our districts are most likely the ones. We're the poorest and second poorest district in the county.
Mm.
And, we all know the woman down the street that makes a casserole or makes
Yes.
tacos or makes tamales or
Yes.
Olympia. And everyone goes to her and says, hey, could you make for us, can you make a tray of it for me for a
Mhm.
party? I'll pay you for it. And it was against the law. And so
Mhm.
we put a board letter in called MICAs, and the MICAs allow you to make up to 50,000 a year,
Mm.
and you can serve up to 60 meals out of your home kitchen. These are home kitchens. So if you are known for something and your neighbors like it, you can actually put out an email or put up a website. It costs $1,000 to get the permit to do it legally,
Okay.
but you can serve out of your home, or what most people do is they'll have the food waiting for them, hot, fresh. And you're working with the best ingredients,
Mhm.
and you're not going to McDonald's. And now, listen, look at
Yes.
me. I love McDonald's, so I'm not against McDonald's. And when McRib's in town, I'm all over it. But I try to balance and have good
Absolutely.
food along with the food I enjoy eating most, which isn't always the best. But now you could earn that money because your cost of putting it together is just a fraction. It's all your labor. But instead of making one enchilada, maybe you're making 60
Yeah.
enchiladas. And
Mhm.
now your neighbors, maybe you have 5 neighbors, and they're buying these meals from you. It's 60 meals a week. So really, you're talking about feeding 3 people 3 meals a day for a week.
Wow.
And so it's not that much to add on to your normal. And what we found is once people know that you're doing it, you may have to open a restaurant because those 60 meals go by quickly. What a great way to make great food for the person you're caring for, maybe for your children.
Mhm.
You're and then you're making a couple extra bucks because you didn't just make one platter of it, you made several.
I am so glad that you're talking about this program, and you said it's called the
Mikas.
Mikas.
And the county features it.
Okay.
Again, if you go to supervisorjoelanderson.com,
Mhm.
we have all the details there.
Okay.
And if you don't have access to the web, just call my office, and we're happy to walk you through it. I want to see more families doing this because I think it's, first of all, no matter what fast food you go to, the food is never going to be as
No.
nutritional.
Or fresh.
And it's going to be expensive. We say fast food's cheap. It's not
It's
cheap.
not.
You go to any one of these and you're looking at $10, $12. If somebody charged you $10 per person and you had a delicious homemade meal and you knew all the ingredients were fresh and delicious, what a great way to go. Plus, you're helping your neighbor. Why wouldn't you want to help
Absolutely.
your neighbor?
I am so glad that this program exists because I know in talking to caregivers, oftentimes it's that inability to work because they're caring for those individuals at home that becomes an added stressor. And so this, like you say, gives them an opportunity to make some money. They're already cooking and maybe they can just
And
expand.
I'm going to sound silly, but when I'm cooking for myself, it's not nearly as good as when I'm cooking for my family.
Yes.
Making 10 of something for me is much easier than making one. And even when I try to make one, it ends up being 5 and I can't eat it, or I'm eating it all week. Here's an opportunity for the caregiver to augment their income, and at the same time, it's little extra work.
Hmm.
And you just have to package it. You're going to pay for maybe aluminum, for maybe some paper plates, or however you want to do it. And but what the one thing we learned by doing this throughout the state, I worked on this bill, making it a law.
Hmm.
And when we did it, what we found was the same 15 people kept buying from the same person,
Hmm.
because they were almost like their in-house cook.
Uh-huh.
They liked their cooking, they liked their dishes, and generally what they would do is they do it 2 days a week, like maybe Taco Tuesdays and Friday pizza.
Okay.
And they would make that, and then the families would put orders in. They'd make
And
to
you know
order,
what it is already?
and they'd say when they're going to be by,
Hmm.
and they'd have it ready. But at the same time, they're making meals for their own family
Yeah.
and whoever they're taking care of. So I think it's a win-win across the board, and you can make up to $50,000 a year, which it doesn't sound like an enormous amount of money, but it's low overhead, and it's work you're going to do anyway.
Well, and if you had to leave your job as a caregiver to be the caregiver at home, that I think is a good option. It's better than nothing, and I do appreciate the opportunity for caregivers to be able to do that. I think it's wonderful. So yes, I think definitely people need to call your office to get more information on how they can
And by the
sign
way,
up.
if they don't want to make the food, probably there's somebody in their neighborhood who's already a Mika making food, and that's a great way to go if you don't have the time to do it.
And have somebody
Yep,
make the food for you.
absolutely.
Oh, good. Thank you so much for talking about this. I also, since we're talking about being at home, and I know a lot of caregivers are, like I said, trying to balance kids and their elderly relatives. I have a neighbor who has a pool. And lucky her sometimes because it's so hot that
Right.
I just want to kind of go over and say, hey, can I jump into your pool? And she has kids, and I can hear them playing in the backyard and having a good time. I know she also has her mother who uses the pool for physical therapy, but she also works from home. And so I often
Ooh.
wonder, okay, she's working from home, her mom is elderly, the kids are outside, who's keeping them safe? And so I wanted to ask if there are any programs that the county has.
Absolutely. The county has tremendous programs. We have pool alarms. And
Okay.
remember, when you have a house, you want to make sure that on every door, every window, there's an alarm, because when you have 2-year-olds,
Oh, yeah.
3-year-olds,
Oh, yeah.
they love to climb, they love to
Mhm.
explore,
Mhm.
and they have no fear. They're
Oh.
willing to do things that
Yes.
any normal person
Would think twice.
wouldn't dare to do, but they're all over it. And so I think that's important. And one of the best things is a pool cover,
Okay.
because the pool cover is guaranteed. But a lot of people don't want to have it
Mhm.
because it takes time to
It's a
take it
hassle.
off, put it
Mhm.
on. Especially if you're using the pool every day. And so sometimes when we cut corners, it costs lives. So
Mhm.
those alarms are so important. The county has it. We have, I believe we also have some swimming lesson
Oh, okay.
opportunities. And so, um, again, I think I didn't do this, but now that I'm a county supervisor, I spend
Mhm.
more time on our website, and I realize that we have so many resources on the
Yes.
website. And, if you're going to that cooling zone that's at the library,
Mhm.
there's free internet and
Oh,
there's free
yeah.
computers.
That's right.
And so you have a chance to really explore what my motto has always been, it's my job to make government work for you as an elected official.
Mhm.
So, this is a way that you can really get the best value from government, because we have wonderful programs, and we'll send it out in an email and we'll encourage people. but they're busy. They're
Yes.
caregiving, they're cooking for
Yes.
their neighbors,
Taking care of the kids.
they're headed to the cool zone,
Yes.
and they may not see it. And so Martha, that's why I so appreciate you doing this, because it's a great way to get good information that will really
Yes.
change people's lives for the better.
That's what we're hoping. And that's why we're so glad that you're here sharing those programs with us because, like you say, so many of us are so busy that we forget that those things are available. I was actually on your website the other day, and I kept reading, and it took me to the county library website. I didn't realize that you can get free books online through
I,
the county library.
So instead of us storing books at every library and making it a pyramid of books, you can actually order and pick up. And I think that we even have some delivery services. And the idea is that every resident, whether you live in Potrero or you live in downtown San Diego, you have access to every book in the county. And all you have to do is sign up for it, and then you'll get your turn. And I think that's important because we don't have to have as much stock, and we're not using valuable storage space. We can then use that space for computer terminals, for other resources to the community. And when you live in a rural area, that really is a natural resource that you really need, because I live in Alpine. Before Albertsons was built, we had to drive 11 miles into El Cajon just to get milk. And so you start to understand the importance of having these resources, and you don't have to drive to Miramar to get that book. They'll bring that book to you. You don't have to drive to Julian to get that book. They'll bring that book to you. So that's good.
And I like that option because we always talk about self-care, and we talk to caregivers about doing something that makes you happy but could also relieve some of that stress. And for some people, reading might be one of those activities, but if you have to drive 30 miles to the next library.
Also have audiobooks.
Okay.
We have movies.
Oh.
We have documentaries. So we have, if you want to play a CD, you could play a CD. We have music.
Oh, that's
so we have all
wonderful.
sorts of classical music, other types of music. So if you really want to explore, you could. And I don't know if they still do it, but when I was in college, they had art that you could sign out for a month. And so I decorated my apartment with library art, and people come in and see sculptures, they'd see all these beautiful Van Gogh on the wall. And, they're thinking that I paid for it. No, I was simply appreciating and enjoying it. And when you have some art like that, it makes you want to explore.
Yes.
And the more you explore, the more you get sucked into it, which is a good thing because I think culture matters.
Absolutely. And that connection, especially if you're feeling that, I live so far out into the community, but that gets you connected to the rest of all the, things that society has to offer, especially San Diego County. I also wanted to quickly, if we can, talk about fire preparedness, because I know it's right around the corner.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's so hot. It's been so hot, and that's a big worry for a lot of people.
So, a lot of people have smartphones. And one of the things that they should do, and this is only as a protection, we have the cloud, we have all these places. Every year, I live in a fire zone. Every year, I go through the house and I videotape I'd open the drawer, videotape it, open the next drawer. It's not perfect, it's not accurate. But when your house burns down, you cannot remember all the things you have until you need them. So years ago, our house was robbed. They we had just moved in, and everything was in boxes.
Okay.
All I had in life was what we were wearing. They took everything, even our dirty laundry, because it was boxed.
Wow.
And so a year and a half later, I go to get a specialty wrench, a torque wrench for my motorcycle. And I realized, oh, shoot, I forgot to claim that. And I missed out because I didn't take pictures. I didn't do anything. And in the old days, you had expensive cameras, but most people have a smartphone that they can simply take a little video. It doesn't take much space. And then that's always updated. And then if they ever have to make a claim, they're prepared for it. But, we have all sorts of fire preparedness. Again, if you go to my website, supervisorjoelanderson.com, we can walk you through a checklist because you should have a checklist.
That's a wonderful idea.
And at my house, we have a go bag. And so we have copies of important documents that if we have to roll out, now I've cheated and I've taken pictures of them.
But at least you have them.
Because last I checked, the cloud has never burnt down.
Well, that is a great idea because I've done that in the past, but I just am remembering that I haven't done that recently. So thank you so much for reminding us. And what a great idea to really walk around and do that. And I want to.
Well, when you think about your driver's license, you
Yes.
think about your birth certificate, key documents, especially if you have insurance policies or anything like that.
Passports.
Those are all the items that seem to burn first.
all the important ones.
Right.
Well, Supervisor, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate you taking the time to talk about all the wonderful services that the county has to offer. And remember, if you're providing support to a loved one, you don't have to do this alone. Asking for help is not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. To connect to our programs and services, visit our website at scrc.care or call us at 1-800-827-1008. If you live outside of San Diego and Imperial counties, visit caregivercalifornia.org. And to support our efforts and make a tax-deductible donation, please go to scrc.care and click on the Donate tab. Remember, SCRC is here for you, caring for those who care for others.